Your head is a great place to solve logical problems, but a terrible place to solve your emotional problems. Because your head approaches an emotional problem the same way it approaches a logical problem. So, how do you solve a logical problem? You first think about the problem. You keep thinking about it for a while, you munch on it, and then you try to recollect your old ways of solving that problem. You try to come up with some ideas, and finally, bam, you have a solution. Now, imagine the same being applied for emotional problems. You think about it, you keep thinking about it, it turns into overthinking, worry, and rumination. It drains your energy, you feel terrible about yourself, and in the end, there is no solution. So, what do? How do we solve our emotional problems? Let's talk about that. Before we start, if you would like to work with me one on one, or if you would like to join any of my monthly group coaching sessions, click the link in description. To solve our emotional problems, we are going to use a tool and then a framework. The tool that we're going to use is a pen and a paper. We're going to write it down instead of having things work inside our head, because inside our head we can't really see things clearly. When you put it down, you create a distance between that problem and you, and for all your emotional problems you need that distance. So you're going to put it down on a paper, and there is a certain framework that we're going to follow. What do you put down on a paper? That's where this framework comes in. And there are 4 steps in this framework. First is emotions are messengers. You're going to allow it. In order for you to receive that message, you need to allow the messenger inside. So first, you allow the messenger. Second, you receive the message. What is that emotion telling you? All your emotion carry insights about yourself. So what is that message? You're going to write it down. And then usually what happens is this message is slightly cryptic. It's kind of on the surface level. It's not very clear. We need to gain some clarity through that message. You know, in old times, they don't just write messages in clear, concise way, because when the messenger is carrying it, someone else might open and read it. So usually the message is very cryptic and riddled. That's how our emotions also work. So the message that you're going to get from your emotion is going to be very surface level, and it might focus on the outside situation, the outside world. It will put blame on other people, but that's usually not the case. So in order for us to gain clarity, we're going to use step 3, where we're going to ask ourselves some reflective questions and gain clarity from that message. What is that message trying to tell you? You're going to get that clarity. And finally, you're going to come up with actions to solve that problem. Now, let's go one by one. Number 1 is to allow your emotion. Emotions are messengers that carry valuable insights about yourself. It's trying to tell you something about yourself. So when you're discarding an emotion, when you're avoiding it, when you're resisting it, you're basically resisting valuable information about yourself. Now, what does resisting an emotion look like? There are a few ways in which we resist our emotions. One is avoidance. You basically try to avoid anything that would trigger that emotion, like situations, people, certain conversations. You just keep it at bay. Here's a great example. Imagine there is something that you want out of your life, something that you would like to achieve. But anytime you sit to work on it, or anytime you even think about taking action, you think about that dream, you have this feeling of failing. You feel like you will fail at it, and you don't really like that feeling. Nobody likes the feeling of failure. So in order to avoid that feeling altogether, you don't work on it at all. You don't think about your dreams, you don't work on it, you simply procrastinate. 2, irritability and anger. Anger is usually a secondary emotion. There's something that you're already feeling inside, but you don't want people to see that. You only don't like that feeling. So you try to come up with this anger to mask that actual emotion. For example, there could be situations where you might be feeling small. You might be feeling inferior. You might be feeling hurt and pain. You might also be feeling insulted and humiliated. And because you don't really want to feel those feelings, and you don't want to sit with them, or you don't even want to allow them, you immediately come up with anger and you do things out of control. Number 3 is trying to be overly controlling. You start micromanaging your life or someone else's life because you don't want to feel anything that is out of control. You don't want to feel anything that is out of the blue, random or uncertain. You're basically trying to control those emotions from entering your life. Number 4 is numbing. This is where alcohol, drugs, overeating, shutting down, all of this comes in. You don't like feeling anything. You want to numb your nerves and you look for outside alternatives or substances to do that. Number 5 is superiority. You might be feeling insecure about yourself. You might be feeling small, humiliated. You might feel like you're less than others at certain places. But instead of actually analyzing why you're feeling that way or trying to understand why those emotions are coming up, you try to overcompensate by looking confident, by being someone who shows themselves as a superior person. Now, human behavior is not just limited to this. There are a lot of other ways in which you can try to avoid your emotions or resist your emotions. There could be a lot of actions you could be taking to stop yourself from feeling those emotions. But this is not the right way to approach our emotions, because none of the things I said or none of the things that you might already be doing is good when it comes to dealing with your life or dealing with yourself. Because all these emotions, if you see, if you're feeling insecure, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling low about yourself, if someone saying something bothers you or you feel insulted, there is a reason why it's happening. There's a reason why you're feeling it. So by resisting this emotion, you're basically saying no to information about yourself. So what do? We need to allow it. So what does it mean when I say allow it? When you feel jealous or when you feel sad, angry, whatever emotion it is, instead of immediately doing something, just take a moment and see that emotion. Oh, I'm feeling something. What is it? I'm feeling jealous. I'm feeling humiliated. I'm feeling sad. So just take a moment and see what's happening inside you. That's it. That is what allowing is all about. You just see that I'm feeling something. What is it? This situation is making me feel something. What is that? Let me just see what it is. Let me try to just understand what this emotion is. That's it. That's what allowing that emotion is. That's what allowing that messenger is. Number 2, now that you allowed the messenger, you need to receive the message. And this message is usually very simple. It's just one line, and you're going to write that one line. What is it? I am feeling dash because of dash. Fill those blanks. I am feeling sad because of my parents. I am upset because of my partner. I am stressed because of the workload. Now, like I said, this message that you're receiving from your emotion is usually cryptic and surface level. Okay, so don't worry about it at this point in time. Just write it down. Now, when you're writing this and when you're filling the first blank, I am feeling dash, I want you to be a bit more specific about what you're feeling. Not everything that you feel can fall under just 3-4 categories like happy, sad, angry, upset. That's not all the emotions that exist. Our emotions cannot be put into words, although there are a lot of words that we've already termed for the things that we feel, like humiliated, insulted, jealous, stressed, pressurized, ecstatic, happy, joyful, loved, taken advantage of, taken granted for. And there are a lot of things that we can actually describe, and sometimes you can't really find an exact word to describe your emotions, but you can use a lot of words to describe it, like how you're feeling it. So be a little bit more descriptive about how you're feeling. Now, coming to the next 2 points, these 2 points are where you would need help of a coach. These points can be difficult for someone to do by themselves. This is where you need someone else who can guide you through this. However, I'm going to tell you what you can do. If you can, give it a try and try to analyze yourself, try to reflect on yourself and understand your problem and take actions on it. Number 3 is to gain clarity of that message. Now that you've received the message, you have written, I am feeling so and so because of so and so. So this because of, the second part that you would have written usually is like because of my parents, because of my partner, because of this person, because someone cut me in the traffic, because I had to stand for 2 hours at the queue, whatever it is. Whatever your return, that because of, that's usually not the cause of your problem. A lot of us believe that the reason we feel certain way is because of someone else or something else, but that's not the case. The way you feel is because of yourself. It's coming from you. It's because of how you are interpreting the situation, and it's because of how you are looking at the situation, your perspective, your mindset, and what meaning you are attaching to the situation. It's not coming from the outside world, it's coming from your inner world. Now, you need to know where it is coming from. This outer situation is touching something inside you. So what is it touching? What is that vulnerable part. You need to understand that. Without understanding that, you can't change it because you don't even know what the problem is. You can't come up with a solution. So here are a few questions that you can ask yourself to understand where it is touching. What exactly about this situation is bothering me? What story am I telling myself about this situation? What does this situation say about me? What need or expectation of mine is not being met? Where am I trying to control something that I can't really control? Now, these are some questions, but the questions highly depend on what situation you're facing. So that's why I said you need the help of a coach. But if you can do it, 100% go for it. I'll give you a simple example. Let's say you had a fight with your mom and dad. So the first message you receive would be, I'm upset because of my parents. That's your first message. But if you try to gain some clarity about it, you might come up with an answer like, what about the situation is bothering me? It's because my parents never understand me. Like, I'm trying to explain myself, but they're not understanding me. What is the story I'm adding behind this? The story could be that my parents don't really love me, or my parents are not supportive of my work. My parents are not proud of me. So you could be adding any meaning to it. What does this say about me? Now, because this is the case, because I think they are not being supportive or they're not proud of me, I think it says that I am not someone who's good enough. You see where it's coming? So the more you ask yourself questions, the more you will dig deeper into where it is touching inside you. Now comes the final step, point number 4, taking action. So once you gain the clarity, you need to understand where you can take actions from your end so that you no longer have to deal with this emotion or this problem. Solving your problem does not mean that you need to somehow change your parents, or you need to change your manager, or you need to change your friends or your partner. That's not the solution. Cutting people off is not a solution. Avoiding people is not a solution. Staying away from them is not a solution. Trying to control their behavior is not a solution. This is where a lot of people go wrong. When you have to take actions to solve your problems, it's not about controlling the other person's behavior. I always have people coming to me in my coaching telling that my partner is this way. How do I make him stop being that way? How do I make my manager or my team leader stop behaving the way they already behave? How do I get my parents to support my career? You can't do that. You can't. These are their actions. How someone speaks to you is their action. How someone treats you is their action. Whether your parents are supporting your career or not is their choice and their action. You can't control other people's action. The only thing that you can do is control your action. So that is what I mean when I say we need to take action. So if we consider the previous example, where will you have to take an action? Maybe it's because the scenario, the issue with your parents is bothering you because you are deep down seeking their validation a lot. You are so afraid that if your parents only don't support you, no one else will support you. So that is the area that you need to work on. You need to stop seeking validation from them. It's not just from them, from anyone. Seeking validation from anyone is not okay. It makes you insecure. So these are the actions that you need to do. Stop seeking validation. And what if they hate me? What if they don't like me? Then that is still their choice. Can I learn to be still even if someone I love hates me? Now, this is something a lot of us definitely go through in our life. There will come a point where someone that we so dearly love and we seek support from and we seek love from might start hating us. And that is one of our biggest fears. But there's nothing we can do about it if that happens. Can I still be myself? Of course, it bothers you. Yes, there will be sadness. Yes, there will be pain and worry. Yes. But can I still be rooted in who I am while it happens? So these are some of the solutions that you have to come up with. Another example is if you're constantly getting stressed because of your workload. Now the message would be, I'm stressed because of my workload. But if you dig a little deeper, you would see that it's because you're not able to speak up to anyone about your workload. Maybe you're not really good at setting work boundaries. You're not good at speaking up. You're not good at taking a stand for yourself. You're not good at speaking back. You are someone who just agrees with what the other person says and you're so afraid of taking a stand. That is where you need to work on. So when you take a stand, right, does that mean the other person will immediately change? No. Now that you stopped seeking validation, will your parents immediately change? No. The world will continue to be the way it is. People will continue to be the way they are. If that is bothering you, you are the one that need to change. And that's what we're doing here. Now, those are the 4 pointers. Like I said, the tool is journaling. Take a notebook, take a pen, and whatever we discussed, try to self-reflect with one of the problems that you have. See what you're coming up with. Try to fix that problem yourself. If you need help, I'm always here. You can always contact me by clicking the link below. I hope that was helpful. I'll see you in another video. Take care. Bye.